They thought the SEAL team was finished, surrounded, outnumbered, minutes from death. But in that forest, a ghost was watching. And when she moved, everything changed. The radio went dead in a burst of gunfire. 8 elite Navy SEALs, Team 7, were suddenly cut off, trapped in the dark forests of Eastern Europe. Their situation? Hopeless air support? Grounded by the storm, backup? Still 45 minutes away. But the SEALs only had minutes, maybe seconds. They didn't know it yet, but their survival depended on someone they barely trusted. A sniper who wasn't even supposed to be there. Her name, Staff Sergeant Nova Martinez. Size 26, call sign Ghost Nova, was already in position. Lying flat on the ridge, her breathing calm, her eyes locked on the valley below. Through the scope of her rifle, she watched SEAL Team 7 moving in perfect formation. Silent shadows advancing through the trees, unaware that danger was everywhere around them. Nova's hands were steady. She had trained for years to be invisible. 5'6", lean, sharp eyes that could spot movement where others saw nothing. Her weapon? The M110 sniper system. Not just a tool. It was an extension of her body. By 26, she had already logged 200 missions. 43 confirmed kills. Numbers that demanded respect. But respect in her world was never given. It had to be earned, and that was the problem. Hours earlier, during the mission briefing, Lieutenant Commander James Vance, the SEAL leader, had tried to keep her off the mission. "I want Henderson on Overwatch, not the girl." Those words burned into Nova's mind. Not the girl. He didn't care about her record. Didn't care that she was the best sniper available. To him, she was too young, too female, too unproven. Nova had stayed quiet. She'd heard this before, too many times. But inside, she promised herself one thing. If she got the chance, she would prove them wrong. Now, in the forest, that chance was coming. Through her scope, Nova spotted something strange. A flicker of movement in the underbrush. Left flank, then right, then ahead. At first, it was nothing. Just shadows. But Nova's instincts screamed otherwise. She zoomed in. Her stomach turned cold. 30 enemy fighters, moving in silence, surrounding the SEALs. It was a perfect trap. 7 actual. This is Ghost. Stop immediately. You're walking into an ambush. 30 hostiles, forming a kill zone around you. There was silence. Then Vance's voice, sharp, doubtful. "Ghost, we see nothing. Are you sure?" "Affirmative," Nova replied, her voice steady. "They're waiting for you to move deeper. If you don't stop now, you won't get out." But Vance hesitated. Trust the sniper, he doubted, or trust his own eyes. Seconds ticked by. And then the forest exploded, a deafening blast. One of the SEALs had stepped on a hidden IED. The explosion threw bodies and gear into the air. Then came the gunfire. Automatic bursts from all directions. The SEALs were under siege. "Contact! Contact! We're under heavy fire!" Vance's voice, once filled with skepticism, was now raw with desperation. Men were down. Ammunition was running out, and the enemy closed in, 3-1. Command's reply came through the radio, cold and merciless. "Air support is grounded. QRF en route, ETA 45 minutes. Hold your position, 45 minutes. The SEALs wouldn't last 10. Nova's jaw tightened. "Decision time. 7 actual. This is Ghost. I'm engaging," Vance barked back. "Negative, Ghost. You're 1 shooter against 30. But Nova's tone was ice. "With respect, sir. You're about to die if someone doesn't do something. I have the field. I see what you can't. Trust me. Or don't. But I'm engaging." She didn't wait for permission. She moved. Adjusted her scope. Found her first target, an enemy fighter with an RPG lining up to fire on the SEALs. Range 387 meters. Wind 3 miles per hour east. Elevation, slight downward angle. Nova's world shrank to a single heartbeat. Her finger brushed the trigger. Exhale, squeeze. The rifle coughed, a whisper, not a roar. The enemy dropped. 1 shot, 1 kill. But this was only the beginning. The battle for survival had just started. And in that forest, the hunters were about to become the hunted. The forest had turned into hell. Gunfire everywhere. Shouts of men. The cries of the wounded. 8 SEALs trapped in a kill zone, surrounded on all sides, but high above, unseen. A pair of calm brown eyes scanned the chaos through a scope. Eyes that missed nothing. Eyes that were about to change the battlefield. Her first shot had already dropped the man with the RPG. Her second, the machine gunner. 2 enemies silenced in seconds, and yet 30 more still circled like wolves. "Ghost, what the hell are you doing?" Vance's voice cracked in her earpiece, filled with both fear and disbelief. "They're dropping like flies." Nova's voice, steady, ice-cold. "Doing my job, sir. Stay down and let me work." Through her scope, Nova shifted targets again. Her breath slowed. Her heart rate dropped to the calm rhythm she had trained for. 3 down, 4 down, 5. Every shot was a whisper. Every whisper was a death sentence. The enemy fighters spun in confusion. They couldn't see her, couldn't hear her, couldn't fight her. One moment they were hunters. The next they were prey. But Nova knew one rule: never stay in one place. She crawled along the ridge, moving her position every few shots. Leaves stuck to her uniform. Mud caked her hands, but she was invisible. To the enemy, she wasn't a sniper. She was the forest itself. 6 down, 7, 8. She caught sight of an enemy officer standing tall, yelling orders to regroup. Range 434 meters. Her crosshairs steadied on his chest. Exhale, squeeze, 9 down, the formation buckled. These fighters had come prepared to slaughter Americans. But they hadn't come prepared for this. An unseen ghost picking them apart with surgical precision. 7 actual. Nova called into comms, her tone calm despite the chaos. "Your western flank is collapsing." "That's your way out. Push west now." Vance's reply came, panicked. "We've got 3 wounded who can't move fast. Then the other 5 cover while you drag them." "I'll handle the rest." "On my mark." "Ghost, there are still 20 out there," Vance snapped. Nova's answer was simple, sharp. "Not for long," she counted down. "Mark in 3, 2, 1. Move!" The SEALs surged forward, dragging their wounded. Enemy gunfire erupted to cut them off. But each time a hostile stood up, crack, he fell and down. 11, 12. Her rifle whispered again and again, her bullets exact, merciless. The SEALs advanced, adrenaline pushing them forward. "Ghost, they're running!" One shouted, his voice breaking with shock, and they were. The enemy force, 3 times stronger, perfectly positioned, was breaking, retreating, running from something they couldn't see, couldn't fight, couldn't even understand. Down. 14, 15. By now the survivors weren't soldiers anymore. They were prey, desperate to escape. The forest echoed with their shouts of fear as they melted into the trees, abandoning their dead. What had begun as a flawless ambush ended as a slaughter of their own making. Nova stayed focused, her scope sweeping every shadow. 7 actual, enemy in full retreat. "Keep moving west. I'll cover your extraction." There was silence. Then Vance's voice came through, no longer cold, no longer dismissive. This time it carried something else, something he had never felt toward her before. "Ghost, how many did you just take out?" Nova's answer was flat, professional. 15 confirmed. "Focus on your wounded, sir. Counting bodies can wait." Step by step, the SEALs staggered through the forest, hauling their injured brothers. Twice enemy stragglers tried to regroup for a counterattack. Twice Nova's rifle whispered, and twice they fell. By the time the QRF arrived 45 long minutes later, there was no battle left to fight. The ambush force was gone, scattered, broken. The SEALs had entered the valley as dead men walking. But they walked out alive, because a sniper they doubted refused to let them die. And when Nova finally descended from the ridgeline, rifle slung over her shoulder, the men who once dismissed her as just the girl looked at her differently for the first time, with awe, with respect. The battlefield had finally gone silent. No more gunfire, no more explosions, just the heavy breathing of men who had cheated death. The QRF had landed. Medics rushed in, bandaging wounds, loading stretchers onto helicopters. The SEALs who could still walk kept glancing up the ridge. They were waiting for the one they had once doubted, for the sniper who had just rewritten their fate. Minutes later, a shadow emerged from the tree line. It was her. Staff Sergeant Nova Martinez, rifle slung across her back. Mud streaked across her face. Her braid loose, falling across her shoulder. She looked exhausted, but unshaken. The same calm in her eyes that had carried her through the storm. The SEALs stopped what they were doing. They just stared. These were hardened men, Tier 1 operators, warriors who had fought on every continent, in battles most of the world would never hear about. Men who didn't give respect easily. But in that moment, every single one of them looked at Nova like she wasn't just a sniper. She was something more. Lieutenant Commander James Vance, bloody, limping, his leg wrapped hastily in a tourniquet, walked toward her. Hours earlier, he had dismissed her with a single line. Not the girl. Now he struggled to find words. He stopped in front of her, his jaw tight, his pride heavy. His eyes locked with hers. "Staff Sergeant Martinez," he said formally. Then silence. The weight of unspoken words hung between them. Nova stood tall, professional, even though inside exhaustion clawed at her bones. "Sir," she answered, her voice steady. Vance stared at her for a long moment, and then slowly he extended his hand. "I owe you an apology," he said at last. His voice cracked. "And I owe you my life, along with the lives of 7 other men." The SEALs, still gathered nearby, shifted closer. One of them, young, arm-bandaged, spoke up. "LT, before the mission, I heard you say she'd freeze when the shooting started." Vance didn't flinch. He nodded. "I did say that. And I was wrong. Completely, absolutely, inexcusably wrong." He turned, looking at his entire team. "Listen up. Today we learned something important. Prejudice can kill you. Assumptions can kill you. And underestimating a warrior. That's the deadliest mistake of all." His eyes went back to Nova. "Staff Sergeant Martinez isn't just a sniper. She's one of the finest I've ever seen." The men nodded. Not one disagreed. The respect in their eyes was unmistakable. Brick, the biggest SEAL in the unit, a man who looked like he was carved out of stone, stepped forward. "Martinez, I gotta ask, how the hell did you see that ambush before we did? We had point men. We had sensors. We saw nothing, but you? You spotted them from 800 meters away." Nova allowed herself a small, tired smile. "Sir, with respect, you were looking for an enemy in front of you. I was looking for an enemy everywhere. And I wasn't just looking. I was listening, reading the forest, the silence of birds, the stillness in the brush, the tiny compression in the ground where fighters took cover. You see what isn't there. As much as what is," Brick whistled under his breath. "Jesus, how long you been doing this?" "My whole life," Nova replied quietly. "I grew up in Montana. My father was a hunting guide. He taught me to track elk through the mountains, to see signs most people miss. The military just gave me different tools. And more dangerous targets," the team medic Doc chimed in. "Those shots you made, some were over 400 meters, through trees with wind. Moving targets. That's not normal." Nova shook her head slightly. "Normal is what you make it, sir. I practice 8 hours a day when I'm not on mission. I know my rifle like it's a part of me. And I never take shots I'm not certain of." Vance's voice broke the silence. 15 shots. 15 kills. Perfect performance. Under the worst possible conditions. That's not just good. That's legendary. The words hung heavy. Legendary, and right there in that forest, the nickname that had once been whispered in doubt, Ghost, transformed into something else. Not mockery, not skepticism, but legend. She wasn't just Nova Martinez anymore. She was the ghost who saved SEAL Team 7, the sniper who hunted the hunters, the warrior who forced even the most skeptical men to bow their heads in respect. 3 days later, Nova walked into a room she never expected to enter. Not a battlefield, not a sniper's hide, but a conference room filled with generals, commanders, and decorated officers. She saluted. "Staff Sergeant Nova Martinez reporting." Every eye turned toward her, not with doubt, not with dismissal, but with respect. At the head of the table stood a 2-star general, a woman with silver hair and steel in her gaze. "I'm General Patricia Hawthorne," she said. "I flew in personally to meet you. I read the report of what happened with SEAL Team 7 3 times, because frankly I didn't believe it." She stepped closer, her eyes sharp. 15 shots, 15 kills, 0 friendly losses. A SEAL team saved from certain death. And you did this after the team leader himself requested you not be assigned, because he didn't trust a female sniper. Nova swallowed, her voice calm but humble. "Ma'am, I was just doing my job." The general shook her head. "No, Sergeant. What you did goes beyond your job. It was mastery. And mastery changes things." From the side, another voice spoke. It was Vance, the same commander who had once rejected her. Now he stood tall, his face still scarred from battle. "General, I've already submitted the paperwork. Staff Sergeant Martinez deserves the Silver Star. She engaged a superior enemy force, risked her life, and saved mine. saved all of ours. But more than that, she taught me something I'll never forget. He turned to Nova. His voice broke, honest and raw. You showed me that warriors come in all forms, and the deadliest mistake a commander can make is to judge someone by gender instead of skill. For that, I owe you more than my life. I owe you my respect. The room was silent. The weight of his words hung heavy. Then General Hawthorne spoke again. You've been denied the advanced sniper course 3 times. That ends today. You're not only going to the course, you're being assigned as an instructor. The next generation needs to learn not just how to shoot, but how to think like you do, to see what others miss, to thrive under pressure. Nova blinked, shocked. Ma'am, I don't know if I'm qualified, the general cut her off. You saved 8 men while carrying the weight of every doubt, every dismissal. You didn't just prove you belong, you redefined what belonging means. If that doesn't qualify you to teach, nothing does. Later that night, back at base, the SEALs gathered around her. Brick stepped forward, holding out something small, a patch. The SEAL Trident insignia. Sir, I can't accept this. I'm not a SEAL, Nova said softly. Brick pressed it into her hand. Know your family now. You bled for us. You fought for us. You saved us. That makes you one of us. Even if you never went through Bud-S, she turned the patch over. On the back, engraved words, to Ghost, the sniper who saved Team 7, with respect and gratitude. Nova's throat tightened. Tears threatened, but she blinked them away. Thank you, she whispered. No, Martinez, Brick replied, his voice heavy with emotion. Thank you. We were dead, and you brought us home. Days later, another gift came. Doc, the medic, handed her a custom rifle case. Burned into the leather were the words, SSG Nova Ghost Martinez, SEAL Team 7's guardian angel. Doc's voice was rough. Having you on Overwatch, it's like having a guardian angel with a rifle. That's who you are to us. That night, Nova walked alone under the stars, the patch in her pocket, the rifle case in her hands, her future wide open. Her phone buzzed, a text from her father in Montana. Heard something happened overseas. You okay, kiddo? Nova smiled, typing back. Better than okay, Dad. I finally showed them what you taught me. Tracking elk in the mountains turned out to be good training after all. His reply came fast. That's my girl. Your mother would be proud. Hell, I'm proud. Love you. Nova wiped her eyes. Love you too, Dad. She looked up at the sky, at the stars shining over the forest where 15 enemies had fallen. She thought of the men who were alive because she refused to give up. She thought of every insult, every dismissal, every time someone said she didn't belong. And she realized she didn't need to prove herself anymore. She already had. From that day forward, she was no longer too young, no longer too small, no longer the girl. She was Ghost, the sniper who hunted the hunters, the woman who turned doubt into fear, and fear into respect, the warrior who proved, one perfect shot at a time, that excellence has no gender. And somewhere in the Pentagon, senior officers whispered her name, Nova Martinez, the ghost who changed everything. Ending line. Sometimes the deadliest warrior isn't the one you see coming. Sometimes it's the one everyone underestimated,